Okay, in the first episode, I discussed the three male appetites, which are namely food, sex, and respect. And women also have three primary appetites. And these are, again, things that they derive pleasure from, things that are not bad in and of themselves, but they are when they become immoderate or that they become replacements for God. And the first one of these appetites is for comfort. Women tend to be much more comfort-oriented than men. Getting back to, let's say, your typical male behavior with, guys will go out, hunting in a duck blind, and they'll sleep on the ground to go out there and let's say hunt for animals that they think that they're going to enjoy cooking later, or at least stuffing and mounting and getting that trophy. Whereas women, for the most part, are not interested in those kinds of things, which men find rather shocking. Instead, women are much more oriented towards physical comforts and pleasurable experiences of that type. The next appetite that we can talk about after comfort is security. Women are much more interested or drawn to providing for their own personal security. When I've dealt with women who are in, let's say, problematic relationships, and you ask them, why did you get involved with this man? One of the things that they'll say is, well, even though he was, let's say, violent and irresponsible and all of that, I felt safe around him, like he was going to protect me. And it is that sense of protection that women often crave and they look for in their relationships. And that can mean either the security and protection of somebody who's, let's say, physically aggressive in sort of an animal way, kind of like having a really big attack dog. Never mind that he's dysfunctional in many other ways. He'll make you feel safe. Or the safety and security that comes with 6 to 7 figures in the bank. Money can provide a great deal of security and guarantees against the threats of the world. And again, you have to remember the passions being driven by fear. This is an extremely powerful medication for the person who is suffering from fear, is to have security. And the third of the three after comfort and security comes affirmation. And by affirmation means basically someone who's sympathetic or who is in agreement with the female. Let's say a woman, when she will want to talk with someone else, is going to want the other person to agree and to say, yes, I see what you're saying, I understand what you're saying, I know what you're feeling. And this is one of the problems in male and female relationships, is that men tend to want to keep things very short. Hey, that's really great, and that's the end of the discussion, and the women want to talk about, well, why is this great, or why is this wonderful, or why aren't you listening? And the male is saying what? Because he's thinking about food, or he's thinking about sex, and this is part of this breakdown that occurs in relationships. But again, when we talk about the ascetical struggles for females, these are the things that they have to work on. Not suppressing, but again, acting out of moderation. Does the desire for comfort cause you to sell out what you believe to be true? Are you seeking to have people merely agree with what you're saying and consoling you even when what you're saying is crazy or wrong? Are you looking for security as a means to, let's say, hedge your bets against God himself? We can often be afraid of God and seek these tangible, material type guarantees against what he might do to us because we don't trust him, or we don't love him, or we think that this is very common, that God does not love us. So again, these three appetites of the female variety aren't necessarily not found in males. These are just the most predominant and the most powerful in the female personality. If we look hard enough at ourselves, we will see that all of these different appetites, the appetite for food, for sex, for respect, for comfort, for security, for affirmation, they're actually present both in males and females because we're not utterly different species, but there are unique characteristics to each one. And it's up to us to examine ourselves and find out when these things are out of balance or out of whack, and to realize that also these things, none of them really can be totally eliminated. They're all part of what it is to be a human. The question is whether we look to God for these things, or more particularly, if we look to God for that sense of wholeness, that sense of love and companionship and closeness. If we seek God first, and therefore we will then find these things in their right balance. But without God, these things become all there is to life, and that's a very dangerous place to be in because all of these things obviously are temporary. For example, if you rely on any one of these things, there's going to come a point where they're not going to work. Be it that the food that you like you can't eat anymore because your ulcer is about this big, and you've ruined your body with an imbalanced diet. It could be the same way with sex. If you end up having medical issues, or you get a disease, or things like that, these things can stop working, and if you only rely on these, it can create a phenomenal level of despair. And what God has for us is something that's eternal. It's an eternal joy and eternal happiness. So we have to keep that in mind as we enjoy the things of this life in balance, and to also, when we have our husband or wife, is to also see what it is that they derive their joy and their happiness from it, and try to provide those things as best we're able, and have a really balanced relationship there as well. So I hope you found this video helpful.